I am really not with it today. I've had to set up this stream to start recording about 3 times just due to one mistake or another. So we've got a Thranda Pilatus PC-6. This is the aircraft everyone's talking about. Really, this is both a VR demo and a nice way of looking at this PC-6 today, because everyone kind of says it's the VR airplane. I've been flying it a few days. Really only just getting to grips with it. That being said, it's very easy to fly. You can put it in a realistic engine mode or not. Really, the realistic engine mode just stops you from over-torquing the engine. Realistic steering, I'll be honest, I haven't had a problem with realistic steering anyway. Anyway, let's take it off. I've got the tail wheel locked, and let me show you how to take it off. I mean, the idea is just to throttle up, but not kind of red line. Otherwise you really will over torque that engine, and you'll find that the tail wheel lifts up very quick in this aircraft, even quicker if you've got the realistic engine on. And there you go, it's off. Look how easy that was. A little bit of wiggling around, largely because I'm looking at dials than looking out the window there, but you know, you can put it in non-realistic mode and it's a little, basically full throttle it, and this thing just takes off the ground within a few feet. In the realistic mode you can't do that, it takes a little bit longer, but it also takes off just as easily, just as well. And you know, as I say, you just over torque the engine in realistic mode if you put it full throttle. That's really a feature about taking off and going to height and using that extra torque on the engine to get a little bit of power up where the air's thinner. So okay, let's have a look. What we're going to do is fly ourselves more or less to downtown Salt Lake, which is dead ahead on the nose. We're going to take this into the back country, going via Little Cottonwood Canyon. Now, I used to live here, I know the layout of the roads. We're basically going to find the roads that take us all the way down the valley and kind of to the entrances of each canyon. There's a canyon that goes to Park City, which will be the one over there, one to Big Cottonwood, and one to Little Cottonwood. And we're just going to follow these roads and navigate by following the roads. Downtown's over there. I'm not sure whether the Mormon temple's modelled. Actually, let's go and have a look for that. Did they put one building here to just model the Mormon temple? I don't think so. It's a nice building, that. Temple. Lots of construction going on it at the moment. I visited it 3 months ago. I'm not a Mormon, by the way, and I don't live in Salt Lake. I just go skiing there. I used to live there though. But yeah, let's have a look. Follow the road back round to the south. So at some point there's a road that shoots off east at 215, and it goes all the way around this valley. Over there it turns off to Park City, but it does continue down the valley and just round Big Cottonwood Canyon. And further, if we follow this road, the 215 meets up with this road again. It's kind of a belt route, but this looks like the start of the 215 going off the I-15 that we're following, the part that actually goes over there, and that would identify the canyon over there as the one that goes to Park City, I think. Let's see if we can follow the next one. Find the next one. There's a big train yard, at least. Sometimes I have to remember to not move my head around so fast, because what appears natural to me in a virtual reality headset looks a lot more jerky when, you know, you folk are watching it in a non-VR environment, basically a 2D rendering of it. Now, yeah, this is a great backcountry aircraft. Short takeoff and landing, you saw the short takeoff there, but I might try and set it down in some really precarious position and just see where we get to with it. There's actually the copper mine over there, like a big hole cut out of the hills. I think it's like the largest working copper mine in the world, or something like that. I can probably fly over there and have a look, but I'll skip that today. Now, yeah, I believe the road should turn to the I-15 will keep going south to Las Vegas, but there should be another turn off for the southern end of the Belt Route that we should come across very, very soon. In fact, this is it. Down there would be the Fashion Place Mall, which is where serial killer Ted Bundy abducted a victim in his Volkswagen Beetle. I know, nice and pleasant, but being someone who used to reside in this area, it's amazing the small facts that you know. So yeah, this 215 just off the nose here actually continues over to the foothills over there and goes back round north, meets up with the other end of it. If you actually get off at this corner of the 215, just a small road to the foothills takes you to Big Cottonwood Canyon, which is what I'm looking at over there, and then you can take another foothill road over to Little Cottonwood Canyon, which is over there. Now, Big Cottonwood Canyon is the home to Solitude and Brighton ski resorts. Little Cottonwood Canyon is the home to Alta and Snowbird. When I lived here, I used to live not too far over there, a place called Dimple Dell. I actually had a real nice backyard that looked pretty much directly at that mountain. Scenery was fantastic. Really fantastic. Question is, are you ready to do some kind of canyon running? Oh, I do love this aircraft. It's nice, pleasant to fly. It's very stable. It seems a bit too easy to fly to me, but it has apparently been tested by a PC-6 real-life pilot, so, you know, there must be some kind of credibility to it. I would say it's easier than most tail draggers. I'm not a tail dragger pilot in real life. Really, I'm terrible with tail draggers in X-Plane, no doubt, because, well, rudders are never the same. Rudder controls and pedals are never the same in X-Plane as real life, but also, again, I'm not a tail dragger pilot. This I've found fairly easy to steer on the ground. It depends on the aircraft. I mean, you try everything from Cessna 170B, put the tail wheel on, and I don't do a bad job with that, all the way to a Messerschmitt, which, you know, was notoriously difficult for ending the lives of the unsuspecting, I guess, rookie pilot, just due to how difficult the ground handling was. Great aircraft to fly. Really, I have trouble getting that off the ground. I can probably do it 1 every 3 attempts. Sometimes I forget to put the tail wheel lock on. That's no good. Really do need the tail wheel lock on. It just adds that extra bit of grip to the back end, and yeah, it's obviously get a lot more rudder authority over any tail wheel, including this one. As soon as the tail lifts off the ground, starts acting like a regular modern tricycle gear aircraft at that point. Is a little bit easier to control, but I have found this the easiest of all the tail draggers I have access to in X-Plane to take off. Tail wheel is still locked at the moment. Oh look, my wheels are spinning around. And push the brakes and stop it. If this was a retractable, I'd really have to get into a better habit of doing that. But hey, it's not a retractable. Now, yeah, as I go up the canyon, I'll probably want to increase this basically manifold pressure and this throttle. Actually, it's a turboprop this. I don't want to over torque the engine, so staying off that red line there. You see I've just moving the throttle control and just changing the needle, and again I've got a prop control for the actual throttle as well. Or should I say prop control for the RPM. Nicely maneuverable aircraft. There's lots of houses in this area in real life. It's where plenty of rich people live. Pretty much we're upon the area that has the ski resorts in real life. So there's some really pretty cabins around here with, I guess, lots of expensive windows that you look out after a hard day's skiing. And, you know, I guess you're supposed to look at the mountains all day. That's why I have the glass houses. But yeah, this would be the snowbird ski area. I can tell by the roads. Well, I know snowbirds first anyway. But it splits from the main road, goes down to Snowbird Resort itself, which would be just off the nose, ski lifts up there, that kind of thing. And then if you look at where I'm turning, you can see a kind of mess of roads that's been mapped over the hill. That is such a beautiful cluster of hillside houses that is normally around there. And obviously I'm on default scenery, which works fine. Well, it works fine for me. Coming round to Alta ski area now. Well, let's have a look. The main road comes round to the parking lot. I believe where the road just forks off the nose is the parking lot of Alta, and the ski lift is at the base. So last time I was here was in February. Let's follow the kind of ski lift route up, trying to figure, yes, this is the route the ski lift takes up. And actually the piece that's off the nose right now is my favourite bit of piece in the world. It's called Extrovert. I'm not an extrovert, by the way. It's kind of this piece that skis along the top of this ridge. There's a nice flat area at the top that you ski along, and then it goes down. Extrovert, which is down there. Here's the flat area. Up there, they do off-piste skiing. They actually get off the top of the lift up here, hike up to that mountain peak up there, and you can also ski this little bowl round there to Snowbird. But this is where the end of the ski lift is, and it opens out into a, whoa, look at that huge pole. Backcountry again. And I could just recognize these hills because I've been here so many times. The shape's roughly correct, even for polygonal default scenery. Now, if you fly across the other side of this valley, basically where the snow resorts are is to do with which way the sun's pointing most of the day. So if we end up flying over this ridge, we get to the other end of Big Cottonwood Canyon, and this is where the Brighton ski resort is, and we should actually find a road down there, a little loop road that is, I guess, the turnabout for the end of the valley. And Brighton ski resort is, I guess, all over these hills here. And let's see if we can find that road. You see roads down there, and there is, again, the nose is pointing at it, the loop around there. So these are real cool mountain areas to fly around in a plane like this. Real cool. And it works so well. It climbs really nicely, in this realistic engine mode. And what's that over there? Well, I'll be honest, I did this trip the other day in VR, and I found something that I'm going to call the Utah Phallus. That's right, it's a state monument. Actually, it's not a state monument at all in real life. I personally think that this is a scenery bug in X-Plane, but for shits and giggles, I'm going to pretend that it's real, and I'm going to pretend that it is called the Utah Phallus, and we're going to go and have a look at it. Now, on the way down there, let's have a look at some other things. Flying over the back of this hill brings you to another ski resort. That's actually Park City down there. This is actually Guardsman Pass that takes you all the way over the mountains. It's closed in winter, it's full of snow, and it deposits you basically at the back end of Park City. Takes you pretty much all the way down into the main street. And again, over there, correctly oriented as per the sun versus those that are getting all melted in the winter, is pretty much most of what Park City is in terms of ski resorts. Lots of roads. Again, why are these here? Why have these been mapped here? Why are there no houses? Well, no houses because it's default scenery. But the reason it's mapped there is because a lot of rich people have some very expensive houses here. Very exclusive resort. Now, I think I mentioned last time I was here was February. I do annual ski trip, managed to get one in just before COVID-19. We actually tried to go tubing, but the tubing centre has been built up into this crazy skateboard place, and now it's even more of a rip-off before. So we bypassed Park City when we were last here and came along this road to go to Soldier Hollow, a bit more out in the wilderness. But Soldier Hollow is where they held the biathlon tournament at the Winter Olympics back in the day. What was it? Salt Lake 2002. Now you can go tubing there. It's about half price. But I did a stream where I drove American Truck Simulator down this road the other week, and I was surprised to find that they had modelled this hill between the road and the lake. It's not really here modelled as well. But I couldn't believe this hill was there, and why it was significant to me is because when I drove to Soldier Hollow that day, somebody's butt was sticking out the hill. I kid you not, there was one car pulled over, and this is not a built-up area, it's just a road kind of going by a scenic lake with this weird hill that might even be a mound or pile of dirt from when they dug the reservoir out or something. But there was a car pulled over on the shoulder of the road. There was a butt and a pair of legs sticking out of the hill, kind of the legs wiggling around, and there was a guy stood watching him. They were obviously digging for something. I don't know what, but it really was the most bizarre thing that I've ever seen. And when we came back from Soldier Hollow that day, we came back by the side of the road that they were actually on. So we got an even better look, and there he was. I mean, he had the whole top half of his body in this hole. Treasure, some type of worm or bait or something, gold, who knows. The next time I go past that hill, I'm going to have a look, because I'm sure that hole will still be there. I want to know what's so special about that hill. Is this something locals do? Dig a hole and kind of stick their head and torso in it, wriggle around. But bizarre, just a butt and a pair of legs sticking out of the ground. Well, what absolute stunning scenery. And what am I, 8,800, nearly 9,000 feet here, which is kind of nice. I'm flying it in the low idle mode. That's pretty cool. Tail wheel lock's still on. I do like to remember these things, although truth be told, you should only turn that off when you're trying to taxi anyway. But yeah, let's go and have a look at this Utah Phallus. I'd actually like to land on it. I'm not really sure whether I can. Very bizarre. Beautiful scenery. Very, very bizarre. But yeah, I assume the error here is some kind of height map terrain problem where there's just some error in the data and it shot some big phallus out of the ground. Because truth be told, if this was in real life, this would be famous for having this shape. It would be like the half dome in Yosemite or something like that. And certainly as someone who used to live, over the valley there, I would have known about this. It would have been such a unique attraction that I would have drove out to it. I hope I'm not mistaken, and the idea is that I've missed this. But I mean, the other thing is, I've skied at the top of Park City before. You can see this from the top of there in X-Plane. Next time I ski at Park City, next time I visit Utah, I'm going to go to the top of Park City and look across. But nevertheless, I'm pretty convinced this is terrain error. Look at these lovely mountains. I mean, the default terrain's good enough for areas like this. You could easily get it to look better, but here's my thing. I could put a higher resolution terrain mesh in, and well, that would probably fix the phallus error. I'm not sure I want to do that now. It's kind of fun to fly around this, but unless I'm really near the terrain, I don't necessarily need that accuracy. And one thing I have found, the frame rate of this aircraft, it definitely slows my experience down a little bit. I'm not sure what optimizations can be done to this airplane. I've certainly got airplanes that are as complex, but in VR mode, this certainly doesn't run as smooth. Typically, my VR runs quite smooth because when I'm non-VR, I use a triple monitor setup, so it actually tends to run a bit faster frame rate for me. But I notice this PC-6 tends to slow down the frame rate a bit, which is why I've turned off just a few graphic settings and things like the reflections in the windshield and dirty windshield I've turned off. Let's have a bit of a look at this aircraft. I mean, it's going to get noisy, I will tell you that. Hang on. Got to make sure I'm clicked in the window with the mouse. Oops. Back to normal. Oh, look at it. Slow down and stuttering then. I know when you load this aircraft, it slows the frame rate down for quite a few seconds in a similar way as that stuttering then. So there's really quite a lot of detail here, and I'm so glad it's not some kind of flat panel. You know, the fact that this has got all these bezels and things like that is just really, really cool. And I think I mentioned before, I really like this shelf. I mean, the aircraft's got kind of a dated utility look to it, but I would absolutely love to fly this in real life and just put a GPS unit on there, an iPhone connected to an ADS-B HRS like a Stratus or something like that, and just have that rest in there. Even just some post-it notes and a pen are better than any kind of knee pad that little thing in front was. So I kind of like it. Oops, my VR is bringing up the VR Guardian again. Let me move this out the way and make it part of the aircraft there. It's fine, don't worry. Doesn't detract from anything. Well, we're getting closer to the Phallus, and some of these little rat root canyons look incredibly tempting to just fly this aircraft down, which I might have a go at that on the way out. I can see you, little valleys. I know you're down there, the other side of those hills. So yeah, I've been to the Phallus once before, and I ended up just continuing with the same plane that I'd been flying around, so it didn't refuel it. I literally got to the Phallus last time and the engine cut out. I had to do an emergency landing in this terrain, and yeah, I kind of cheated and refueled it in the middle of nowhere and took it off, but I was surprised where I managed to land this plane and how. I mean, for sure the ground handling was a bit weird because I landed on a slope and it was sliding sideways. I couldn't even get it to really stay still once I'd kind of stopped it. I don't trust those kind of physics, but I managed to get it down between some trees, and it really wasn't that hard to do. Again, it's short landing capability of this aircraft is really, really amazing. Once you put it down on its 3 points, all the aerodynamic braking that's going into effect is just amazing. It just stops. So I'll maybe put it down on purpose, this time without a engine failure. Ooh, imagine just tearing the ass of this aircraft as you fly down that valley. I wonder if that's a waterfall in real life that you can get to quite easily and kind of by car and by hike combo, or whether there's even a road up this valley that takes you pretty much to the edge there. I do love Utah's scenery. It really does have some fantastic national parks in it. In fact, I really should take this aircraft down to those national parks, fly around them, see. I don't think I've ever done it in X-Plane, so see what the scenery is like down there, and then maybe also go onwards to Grand Canyon. I am definitely coming out to play in those valleys. My name is Heidi, or Goat Peter. Super. I've got a Logitech steering wheel. I'm actually going to switch over to that later on and do some American Truck Simulator probably. I've never tried Truck Simulator with a wheel, it's all new. I'm not even really sure I want the wheel, but I just couldn't give in to the temptation. And it ended up kind of being an impulse buy. You know, it's so easy to make an impulse buy when you can just say, look, I'll buy it, and if I decide not to keep it, I'll put it on an eBay and sell it. But I also know full well that that won't happen. I'm just going to hoard this shit and use it twice a year. But it's actually the fault of having this VR system recently that's done it, because trying these experiences in VR, car racing simulators and American Truck Simulator, has just been a totally amazing experience. So I just want to see what it feels like. You know, I'm never going to get a chance to drive a racing car in real life, so I just kind of want to see if it's fun to do this virtual racing thing. I'm obviously kind of in love with the virtual reality of flying. Really, really nice. I mean, it's just nice that I can look around in this, and if I move my head slightly as I look around, you know, everything's where it should be. If I want to kind of look up and under at something, I can do that. I don't know why I'd want to do that, but it's not this fixed position, or at least a position that is only fixed while, you know, I'm not touching keys and moving it around in some natural way, unnatural way. But yeah, I really do love it. You know, I mean, I don't have a window here, but I can actually peek out of it as if I had one. It's like a Piper Cub style thing. Well, look, here's the Phallus. The magical Utah Phallus, and yeah, this to me looks like an error in the map. Stretched textures, polygons. It's kind of a silly looking thing, really. Still, it's only a, 30-minute flight out here just to see it. Perhaps it could be a point of view for other pilots to come and see if it's in their installation of X-Plane, or whether it's just some weird anomaly with mine. Yeah, look at that wobbling texture up there now. Stretched. It's not bad on this side of the rock, actually. It looks like it could pass for being modelled properly, but not down there, not along the back side of it. And of course it's way too thin to be something in real life. You know, if this was in real life, it'd not look like a propeller or a knife at the top. And yeah, there's no way you can land on top of that, which is a real shame. Real shame. I could actually torque the aircraft up down here and get a bit more power out of it. But let's see if there's a decent place to kind of try putting this down a bit of flat. Try that backcountry landing. There's a little box canyon down there which I might be able to land on. Now I'm just going to power this down. I'm just going to flatten the blades to break it as well. Put it into a beta type scenario. Now I'm still going ridiculously fast. Let's see about this. Really do need to bleed off some more speed if I'm going to pull this off, although I might manage it better in the white arc. I'll risk putting some flaps down. Now I'm going to prop the prop back to where it should be. Too many trees down that part. Let's just go over the brow of this hill. See what I said about this almost stopping itself? I don't know whether that'll happen this time. I've got to unlock the tail wheel. And knowing X-Plane, it'll start rolling backwards. It really doesn't model like the surface and friction too well. I mean, it doesn't know what the terrain is and the fact that I'd be lodged on rocks by now. Okay. Flaps up. One flap, one notch of flap back down. I am gonna lock the tail wheel. And let's see if I can launch myself. Tails up. I'm off. I actually over-torqued it a bit there, but pulled the throttle back quickly enough. You see how it went over the red line? You may not have seen it. Right, flap up, and again. What an absolute great aircraft to take off. Now, if you see me looking up a bit once in a while, it's because I'm taking my goggles off every now and then just to see if there's been any kind of chat, because I can't see the chat room. But I will now answer the question. Stall or comfort? I really like this stall. I mean, this is a real good mix. PC-6, backcountry, fun tail dragger aircraft. And I think just for doing what I did and real short landing and takeoff in the middle of nowhere, I mean, it's going to beat the PC-12. I would say if you're kind of a more small aircraft person, this is a great kind of largest of the small aircraft that you'll fly. Whereas if you're an airline guy who likes flying airlines, a PC-12 is probably going to be a smallest of the large airlines that you fly type scenario. And I'll be honest, I tend to fly the smaller GA aircraft in X-Plane. I very rarely fly any kind of jet or anything like that. So this is kind of perfect for me. Now, are we going to do some canyon bombing now? Yes. Yes, he says. Now, I am going fast, so I'm going to pull the throttle back and also flatten this prop. And when I get down there, I'll have to remember to throttle up, because you can see what I did landing it. It's, you know, almost got it into the stall scenario. Easy to do when you're fiddling with multiple controls and trying to get them right. Is just to take your eye off the speed like that. But you know, nice responsive engine like this, turboprop is going to be fine. Right, so just get that RPM up on this prop and just throttle up as well. Canyon's not as much fun as I wanted. I wanted a one that was less wide, but this'll do. Maybe I'll follow the river a little bit. There's a few too many trees to get right down there, but you never know, it might break out in a few places. But yeah, it's fairly easy to maneuver. Little bits of rudder as well. I mean, yeah, there's actually spaces where I can fly between the trees, but generally not. Generally, I'll just follow the river. If I come too close to a tree ahead, I'll bring it up. Oh, side-on tree there that I couldn't see. Kind of cool. I'd never do this in real life, by the way. I was actually out flying Piper Warrior yesterday. I took it to Waco, Texas, and I didn't land at Waco. I had a look at that place to the east, Mount Carmel, where that Waco siege happened several years ago. It's kind of nosy aviator thing. And then I took it to Temple, refueled it. We actually landed it at Temple, and it was such a nice day out there. There's something really good about just being at an airfield when it's sunny, finding yourself a nice shady spot, because, you know, there was a nice breeze out there as well. And just sitting there, which I did for an hour. I got myself a cold drink from the FBO there, and just sat for an hour, and then I started the Warrior up. Oh look, a lake with kind of a potential box canyon to it. Interesting. I wonder if this lake extends out the other side. We'll soon find out. Either that or I'll be putting this throttle in further and do an emergency climb and a box canyon turn or something to get out. But yeah, flew it out of Temple, did 3 touch and goes on the way out. I did the touch and goes because when I went into Temple, there was a bit of a crosswind, and I actually haven't flown that Warrior much in the crosswind. I actually did a terrible landing off the center line. So I kind of wanted to practice flying along the center line, but it didn't happen. There was much less of a crosswind on the way out. After that, I flew it back to Austin, and you know, they say you should never change plans during a flight or something like that. It's fly what you plan what you fly. But I decided to do a quick touch and go at a place called Lago Vista, and again, it was more about just not feeling great about the landing I'd done, and you know, I'd actually never done an approach at Lago Vista anyway. And then I brought it back into Austin. 3.5 hours of, well, being at the controls of an aircraft. I can't honestly say it was 3.5 hours flying, because the truth is, where that aircraft is kept is in some hangars that are ideal for runway 35 right. And 35 right is closed at the moment, so we had to taxi the damn aircraft all the way around the terminal to the other side of the field. They normally don't let the light aircraft even go across that, and it's golf and hotel taxiways, which is it's really funny. It's where all the big aircraft are, right in front of the terminal, and right to 35 right. And you know, I mean, it's just like a drive before you actually get to fly. I don't know how long it took, but nevertheless, the Hobbs time of 355, the tachometer time was much less because I had the engine running, you know, at a lower RPM. I think the Hobbs was something like 2.8. Sorry, the TAC was 2.8. And it's cool because the flying club does not charge by Hobbs time, it charges by TAC time. So 2.8 hours worth of flying, and I get 3.5 hours worth of flying. And on top of that, I refueled it. I get a big fat fuel discount. I paid $2.80 something for the fuel, and we actually get it refunded to us at the same price it is at Austin Airport. We can either refuel it there and, you know, we don't have to pay it on an account, or we take it somewhere cheaper, refuel it, but they repay us at the rate per gallon at Austin, which is $6. So, you know, joining a flying club that has those kind of policies and those kind of aircraft really is a cheap way of flying. I'll be completely honest, the $200 a month club fees are completely offset by taking advantage of those little fuel tricks. You basically fly in for about $100 an hour in you know, aircraft costs, which is cheaper than renting from a flight school by a long way. And then when you end up getting fuel rebates that basically refund your monthly dues for the club, it's cheap as chips. I would say the only cheaper flying is if you buy a really old Cessna 150 or 152, and you know, you can get a decent one for 20 to 30k, and they don't cost much to maintain. You might be able to compete with that. I do know a 150 or 152 that privately owned, and you can rent for about $88. But that's about the limit of cheap flying. It doesn't get much cheaper than that. Right, so where am I? I am going to gain some height and just have a look around. I've been flying south for a while, and I should be coming out into... Oh! I overtalked it. Let's bring it down. Anyone that you can walk away from is a success. I think I probably bent the propeller on that one as well. Just the, but I mean, relatively safe landing that. Yeah, I pushed the throttle forward. This is what I was meaning about the realistic engine setting. You've got to forget not to do that and forget not to just push it all the way forward. Now, I didn't think I'd pushed it necessarily that far. I am only guessing that I kind of throttled it forward. I'm going to look on the video later, but it basically takes the torque of the engine up, takes it past the red line, and I have a vague suspicion the number of times I've seen this that there might also be a bug in the aircraft. I'm not quite used to the aircraft enough to be sure yet. I mean, certainly I can explain it, but it's also a little bit weird. Okay, well, I guess we were coming into the area of Utah that has the dinosaurs in it, but let's see if we can. It happens to the best of us, doesn't it? But let's see if we can do a. I'm trying to think what. Okay, no, let's delete that. I'm going to see if we can get a southern Utah Moab. That's a heliport. Is it Canyonlands? Let me just briefly look on the internet for the airport. Hang on. I'm going to look in a browser. AirNav Moab. KCNY. Yes. I thought it was Canyonlands. Actually, that wouldn't bring it up. Canyonlands. KCNY. Canyonlands Field. Let's start a new flight down there. See what some Canyonlands scenery looks like. Oh, and also see if I don't break the damn aircraft this time as well. So it's just loading. Okay, so there's that slowdown. Now, believe it or not, my yoke that I can feel in real life is actually that direction. So I have to reset the view by looking forward and doing this. And that's pretty common in VR for it to be confused. Now, the brakes should be on. Yep, which means the tail lock is probably reset to off. So let's put the tail wheel on, brakes off. Now let's try this little theory first of full throttle in this takeoff. Right, you should see that red line over there. That. I didn't even get it off the ground. So I think that's what's happened before. We'll just start it again, because then we'll start with a clean aircraft. But that's just to demo what I just did. And again, if you turn the realistic engine setting off, it won't do that. And that can be cool, because, you know, if you're an idiot like me, you'll not forget and not firewall forward it. Like I obviously did. So again, let's do the tail wheel lock, touch the brakes to put them off, but let's just not throttle it up so much. I actually tell the tail wheel's locked. Believe it or not, I'm actually looking at the throttle, the control there, the dial, which is why I'm all over the runway, because I'm now paranoid about over-torquing the engine. But let's leave that setting about there, and it'll fly really nicely. But yeah, it took me a little while to figure that out. Right, where shall we go? There is Arches National Park around here somewhere. I'll be honest, I don't know quite where. And the truth be told, it kind of doesn't matter where it is, because the arches would not be modelled in this default scenery anyway. I really came out here, I thought it'd just be better to do some Canyonlands stuff. And actually, you know what, I caught myself playing with the throttle then, just out of habit, just inching it up. Obviously I have that feeling that it's not fully forward enough from flying other types of aircraft, which is total bollocks really. But you know, again, it's one of the unique challenges of flying this PC-6 is the engine management, just because it's turboprop. It's actually really nice to fly turboprops in X-plane. I think in many ways I prefer them to jets. Okay, so I figured I am going, what, northeast? Let's go have a look at these cool rocks. Oh wow. You've just got to love Utah's scenery, you really have. Whether it's the Utah Phallus or something else. But yeah, this is just absolutely stunning rock formations. Now, isn't it the Colorado River over there, or Green River, or whatever it is? I don't know. But it almost looks a bit more interesting to fly along that river and into that canyon, which I'm not so sure. I mean, really, to get the full Canyonlands experience, I do believe that's west, like over there, would have the best scenery, but at the moment I'm just flying to what looks more interesting. And let's stick with that for now, anyway. Well, let's put an aircraft a little bit through its paces. Let's see if we can spin it. Oh damn, I do hate that VR bloody iPad. Sometimes you're flying a tandem aircraft and that's actually defaults to that position and it's out on the bloody wing. It's not even in the cockpit. Right. Let's power it on. Drop in, drop in, drop in. Stall. Now then. Centered. Roll. Then pull up. It wasn't even spinning there, to be honest. I could tell pretty much straight away. Maybe it's kind of benign. Like that. Let's do it power off. Drop that throttle back. Bleed off that air. Air speed, should I say. It's completely benign. Oh well, I seem to do nothing in this plane but emergency landings, if I'm to be honest. Largely because I keep putting that throttle all the way forward. By accident. But hey, it is kind of fun. Yeah, that looks kind of nicer to fly through, doesn't it? I'm going to go down that canyon there, like a TIE Fighter style. Beautiful, beautiful. Just love VR flying. If anyone wonders, I'm actually flying with a CH Products yoke. Their rudder pedals, I don't particularly like their rudder pedals, they just don't feel right, but hey, it works for home sim. For the few keyboard presses that I need, I'm using a Logitech G50, G13 is it? One of those little keypad things. And actually I've got most instruments mapped to most controls, flaps, gear, there's no gear on this aircraft, trim, things like that to the yoke. There's really about half a dozen keys I have on the Logitech. I have brakes, I have the thing that turns the mouse on and off, the mouse pointer. See if I can get it on. Nope. I'm probably not even clicked in the window now, so that's probably not responding for a reason. Let's try again. There it is, mouse on and off. So I can click things. I have the brake, tail wheel, lock. I have switch between COM1 and COM2. You see it move there. That just makes it easier when I am using something like the Pilot Edge to fly in the network, and you actually have to use radios in that. That's the only reason I have that. Really what I'm trying to do with my keyboard setup is avoid a situation where I have to use the mouse to tune a radio. I mean, you can't get away with that in Pilot Edge, but for normal flying, all my keys are bound to something within reach. Yeah, you have to tune radios in Pilot Edge. Just not even interested in picking up my VR controller and throwing the odd switch. It's just too much of a sensitive controller to be accurate. You know, it's not like flying a real plane where you just put your hand out without even looking, turn a knob, look at what you set it to, you know, like the radio thing, gradually your attention between out there and instruments, things like that. I am over talking that again. Bloody hell. See, I didn't put it to its backstop or its forward stop. I just accidentally did it. Again, this is why I'm constantly getting into scrapes with this thing. Now I am flying east now. Is it 3-3? 060. So hopefully I'm just going to have another look and see if I can see that sexy bit of scenery. Wow. I know that one's intentional. It doesn't look like the Utah Phallus, at least. In fact, I tell you what, let's do some climbing. Get an even better view of this expanse. One thing is, I think this is largely VFR aircraft. You could certainly fly it IFR, you've got all the instruments to do that, but I just prefer to have an autopilot when I'm doing that kind of thing. Ugh, beginning to get tired. Do I have a drink? I have a drink right there. I'm just leaning across to reach it in real life. That's why the yoke went forward. I accidentally put my chest on it. Excuse me while I just drink. Super. Yeah, I think Moab is right on the river. Canyonlands Airport, where I took off from. And you see the river curving round there. I don't quite recall where Canyonlands Airport was. It's probably somewhere over there, because that looks to me like it's Moab. Just a built-up area. Well, I want to get even higher. I insist. Ah, yeah. That's where the river goes. Is that right? So I'm pretty much north. Ooh. Well, I kind of think north of Moab is the Arches National Park, just to the north. I've got a feeling that's this part then. I don't know for sure, I'm not using any navigation. And again, the Canyonlands is out to the west. Try out to the west then. See, it's hard. That's one thing I don't like about VR. It's, you might not actually see this, but with the lenses I've got, it can be a little bit harder to read instruments. Okay. But yeah, I can always pick that up and press the X button for a greater look around. Oh, look at that, that's weird. I can assure you that's weirder on my screen than yours. Okay. We're going to keep climbing. We're still looking for the cool scenery. Ooh. Which looks like it's over there, maybe. Just those big chasms. It's funny, I can't even see the airport. Is that it over there? I would have thought it stuck out like a sore thumb round here, but maybe I'm wrong about its location. That's fuel have we got? Plenty of fuel. Now let me set this up. We're just going to set this throttle to 40, and then we're going to see as we climb how that changes. Right, I actually had my microphone off just then, which is why I was quiet. Someone came in asking if I want a frappuccino bringing, which of course I do. Who wouldn't want a frappuccino, right? But hell yeah, I'd be on oxygen now. And you notice that my pounds per square inch has gone down. And, you know, at height you'll have a lot less trouble kind of being worried about over torquing this thing. In fact, this is really where this engine kicks in, just to give you that extra power once you've got up to a decent altitude. You know, I mean, my speed's gone down now. I mean, my nose is up because my speed's gone down, but you know, eventually if I keep flying this higher, I'll get to a stall. So I will see. I'm kind of interested in how I can get this thing. Oh, look at that. Wow. And I'll be honest, that's still not a bad old climb rate for 17,000, well, 18,000 feet. Alright, let's put some more pressure on. I want to know what I can do here. How far I can take this. I mean, for sure, if I had the throttle forward this much at 6,000 feet, I would have over-torqued it by now. And you know, it's actually kind of fun just to turn the realistic engine off and not even worry about this kind of thing, really. Now look at that nose dropping then. Am I reaching the limits? Put a bit more back in and the nose goes up. I'm losing that pressure quite fast because the air's so dense up here. Bit more throttle. And actually I could put it more, almost up to the red line. It's in the green, but I don't really want to. Rather keep it on like a obvious setting on the dial. I wonder if that over there is Lake Powell or something. 300. No, I would have thought Lake Powell was more over there. Not that I really know which direction's which around here. Notice the right turn tendency that I'm having. I'm still wondering which bit I should go and fly down. It really still looks more interesting over there to the south than that northern area. Tell you what, let's do a turn. I'll throttle up. Actually, I'm going to go above. Oh, I can't. I've actually got my throttle all the way forward now. So that's how you get your throttle all the way forward, is bring it up to 22,000 feet. And it's still climbing. This aircraft is unbelievable. What fun. Right, definitely over there. Looks like there's a ridge, a plateau, and, you know, again the river snaking its way round. I still want to see what kind of height I can get out of this altitude, should I say. That's so cool. Wow. Imagine this in real life. I mean, it's cool to see in a VR experience anyway, but you know, you just like looking out the window of planes when you fly and stuff like that. It's so nice. Oh look, a farmer's put some fields down there. Good for him. Good for him. Well, I think I'm going to call it a day here. I mean, I pretty much got to 25,000 feet. I mean, this really has become, I think, my go-to aircraft for virtual rally. I like the tail wheels in VR anyway. You know, there's always a good view out of the window on the tail wheels for some reason. I think the fact that this is high wing and has this window enhances that. And it's an absolute pleasure to fly, you know, one way or the other. So, yeah, thanks a lot for joining in. I'm going to upload this film to the JZLOK YouTube channel as well, probably. And I'll see you around. I'm going to go and do some work in the yard. Oh, groan.